Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Eastern Lariat podcast, your show for news, notes, reviews, and opinions on the world of Japanese pro wrestling here on cagematch.net. I am your host, STRIGGA, and I'm, as always, joined by my main man, Dylan. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm just really happy to be back talking to everybody. I just went to the hockey game. I teased on the last episode. That did happen yesterday. So, unfortunately, the Preds lost, so it means they're probably not going to go to the playoffs this year. But at least I have the Cubs now, so I'm at full baseball mode at the moment. Seeing Nashville was interesting. The Batman building is there, and that was a ton of fun. A bona fide hoot, some would say. And now I'm here. I've been doing a lot of wrestling stuff, a lot of training on some things, some physical training, getting myself ready for something personal that's good, I hope. Or not. Maybe I'll fail everything and not be as good as I thought I was about some things. But nevertheless, doing my best. I've done a lot of wrestling stuff with Greatest Wrestler Ever coming up. I posted my list on my Twitter, too, if you guys want to check that out. See who I have for my top 100 in-ring wrestlers of all time. I know some people have done a lot of good work on that. I was more involved, honestly, a decade ago when we did it in 2016.
Yeah, I remember that. You were heavily invested in that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really not involved in this at all on any kind of administrative level, but I am excited to see what the results are. And this is kind of broken containment from where it was 10 years ago, and I have a feeling the list is going to be totally different than it was.
Saw some of the discussions around Twitter about that, yeah.
And I'm excited about it. I'm definitely positive about it. Maybe I won't be as positive when the list comes out, and like I might not like it, but it's fine. It's always said on this. It's not, and wrestling history itself is kind of interesting in this way. It's never about yeah.
You know, what we need to find out 10 years down the line, if there is another one in 10 years, we need to find out who put Triple H on number 12.
Well, that we don't know that yet. If someone could put them, hopefully he doesn't get
holy grail of the internet wrestling community, if it's still called that.
Well, hopefully he doesn't get any votes in this year's version. In the 2016 version, that did happen. And yes, the high voter didn't put who he was, but that there's stories about that list that are very funny in general. But nevertheless, there's some people who voted, which some people might be surprised by. But nevertheless, like I said, I hope that it goes good. And like I was saying, in this thing, it's never about the destination. It's always about the journey. And I always wish people would watch more older wrestling. And this sort of project is actually helping more people get into it. And, there was a little controversy around somebody kind of said some stupid stuff, to be honest, recently. And I had to set the record straight on that because I think the newer generation getting into this stuff is awesome. And like I said, I'm not a new fan, but I'm also not like an older fan either. So I'm kind of in that between phase. So I felt like I had to step up for the newer people who take the time and care enough, because wrestling history is hard, to get into in terms of like taking the time and in ring, like just learning the history of it isn't that hard. But in terms of you're really scoping out in-ring wrestling to the best of your abilities, which is hard enough if you only watch modern wrestling, it's still hard for a lot of people. But still, if you're taking the time and effort and care, I really have to praise that. And, I said my piece on Twitter, and I hope everything is good now. It seems like things have blown over, as they always do with these Twitter controversies. So I mean, yeah, it wasn't like a big deal. It's just, he said something I wasn't like I didn't agree with at the end of the day. So, and disagreements are okay. Great minds can disagree, I suppose. So we're on that though. The fact of the matter is, I'm very happy about the list coming back and people getting into it so much, because a lot of people that might have never watched stuff. I saw somebody talking about like literally 15 minutes before we started recording tonight. I was seeing somebody talking about Big Mouth Loud on the timeline, and I was like, yes, like this guy is like, indie nowhere, like was never a fan when Big Mouth Loud was originally on. I wasn't even a fan when Big Mouth Loud was originally around, but just to see these guys get into it, that's so cool. And not just that, but all sorts of stuff, and that's why I always shout out those who do that. But I'm very big into that, and now it's all led to stuff that I don't think there'll be very many greatest wrestler ever candidates talked about on this modern edition show, but the fact is they're putting their content out there, and I have analysis to give on the modern era, so we are gonna do it big.
Well, maybe there are a couple with the first couple of topics that we have here for this episode of the Eastern Lariat, because first of all, we're gonna get into some recent Yoshi and upcoming Yoshi events that we have in late April and in early May, as Golden Week obviously is approaching at the end of April, running all the way through May 5 or May 7, around these dates. And first of all, Dylan, we're going to talk about the most recent Sendai Girls show, where we saw Shuri defeat Chihiro Hashimoto by referee stoppage in around 15 minutes. That, of course, came after the incredible main event that we saw at the Sari-ism Chapter 10 show in Yokohama Budokan. That has a cage match rating of 9.12, which was a Spark Rush, Sari and Takumi Iroha going over Chihiro Hashimoto and Shuri, when Sari pinned Chihiro Hashimoto to then not challenge Chihiro Hashimoto for her Sendai Girls title, but to challenge Iroha for her AAAW title that is going to come up at the Marvelous show. So we saw a couple of these matches between these four in recent weeks that were incredible. And of course, this tag match from the Sari-ism show, I think, will be discussed when we do our half-year awards show down the line. At this Sendai Girls show here in Korakuen, it was apparently a sold-out house. We had Shuri, like I said, go over Hashimoto and say after the match, actually was a non-title match, that she wants to go after the Sendai Girls Championship still held by Hashimoto. And we also saw the main event of Manami and Ryo Mizunami take the Sendai Girls tag team title from the team of Bob Bob Momo Banana. That is Mio Momono and Yurika Oka. And Ryo Mizunami announced that she is rejoining Sendai Girls now. Sendai Girls is having a good roster here in 2026 with some more additions and some outsiders that they use. And overall, together with the hardcore match between Dash Shisaku and Kuroshio Tokyo Japan and the junior title match between Senka Akatsuki and Spike Nishimura, this top to bottom really was a good and fun card, Dylan.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought that, honestly, the last two matches I actually thought could have been even better than they were. And it's not really through anybody's fault or anything like that. I just thought that they really decided to cut time down for whatever reason. They kind of got to the point of these matches. And with Shuri and Hashimoto, this is the kind of match I think calls for grander stakes, so to speak. Yeah. Just a semi-main event match, just going 15 minutes, and it was still great. Don't get me wrong. You saw what these two could be if they really went all out in a main event scenario. That the skeleton of that was still here, and there was meat on these bones, but it wasn't what it could have been in their fully form, in my opinion. And I love the match a lot for what it was, but you have to kind of adjust your expectations knowing that it's not going to be like the absolute complete version of this match. Mm-hmm. It just was not that. Even if you're like, you don't need to go 30 minutes to have a great match, which I agree with that. I'm not even saying it should go 30 minutes, and I'm not even saying this wasn't a great match, because I think it was. But I think that if you compare it to some like the Shuri and Sari matches, this would be behind those because those were the full version of that pairing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think this was for these two. But I love what they put down though. Like what we saw was great. I thought the finish was great, and who knows? It seems like something they could come back to, too. For the record, it seems like they were setting that up actually in some ways. So I hope that we can see them do even better next time.
Yeah, Dylan, I get where you're coming from with your assessment of the Shuri and Shiro Hashimoto singles match. I thought the card was interestingly designed because this match was sandwiched between the hardcore match between Dashi Sako and Kuroshio, like I said, and the main event of this for the Sendai Girls tag title match. And both of these matches had, in some ways, higher implications than the Shuri versus Hashimoto match, because for Dash, it was about to deliver one more of her outstanding hardcore matches and to announce that she's going to wrestle at Desperado in July, I think it is. That was the big point that they wanted to bring across. And with the main event, like I said, the idea was to put this match in the main event to deliver the message that Mizunami is rejoining. So it was more of a, I wouldn't say storyline driven main event, but more of a headline-driven main event in contrast to Shuri and Hashimoto. That wasn't the match that was supposed to be standing out that these two could have, like you said. So I guess for the overall good of Sendai Girls, putting these two matches out there to deliver these points, I thought was a good way to go out and to deliver a really feel-good moment, because when Mizunami announced that she was rejoining, all the roster members were gathering around ringside in their tracksuits, and they were jumping up and down in joy that Aniki is rejoining the company. So that was really cute and was a good finishing touch on this show.
Yeah, the main event was good. It's another one I think it could have been great, and I don't think it was. They started off
the finish came out of nowhere. It was just suddenly ending.
Yeah, it's one of those matches where I didn't even think the beginning, they didn't get out of first gear for a few minutes, and then it got really good, and then you said, it just kind of ended out of nowhere. They decided, okay, we're ending this now, and that was it. So, I thought it was good. I'd still recommend it, but it's like a 7 out of 10 to me. And obviously the Mizunami thing is cool for the company, and that felt like a good moment for sure. And it was nice of them to get the titles. I mean, Momono is great. So great. Honestly, she's so great. And I want to see her in even bigger situations. I hope for that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I hope for it. The hardcore match, that just wasn't for me in any way. I like Dash, and I've always appreciated her work. I've appreciated her Jeff Hardy, love as a fan, and how she's taken that into her own way over the years. And I think she's awesome. But the match, it was just, like I said, it's just, I think if you just accept it as a nonsensical kind of hardcore match, you will probably get enjoyment out of it.
Yes, I did enjoy it, yeah.
But it just wasn't for me. I mean, it's zero at the end of the day. Junior title match, that's another one. It's funny because this was a good show, but almost every match was disappointing to me. that I was looking forward to. Now that I'm really looking at it, I think you could argue every single match was disappointing from what it could have been.
I understand where you're coming from. For example, I expected much more from the Sendai Girls Junior title match between Senka and Spike Nishimura. That was another one of those where I thought they were getting they were getting somewhere, but then Senka just laid on Spike Nishimura and she couldn't escape anymore, where the ref was confused as well, or seemed confused as well. And it just wasn't the match that I expected. Now that you're saying it,
yeah, that was another one that's like that, and it wasn't intended. The thing is, though, it basically wasn't intended to be anything more than this. That's really the only surprising part of it all. The other ones I think could have had grander ambitions, but the way they laid this match out, they were like, look, this is what it is. You're going to have this junior match. I've seen some criticism of Senka recently on Twitter, and that she has not grown any, although she did have new gear with knee pads, to be fair. Big change, in my opinion. Some people may disagree with that. But it's also bad if you watch the whole. Like, a lot of people were comparing her to Yamaoka in Marigold, who has grown a lot, like, more than she has, which is true. Like, it's absolutely true. But that's also by design on there, too, more so than a flaw in her game, so to speak. So it's really. They just have to kind of let her cook, not to steal a phrase from anyone. But if they do that, I think that she'll really show out and show how talented she is. But right now, it seems like they want to push her into this mold of this rookie type of wrestler. And I mean, she's great at it, but it's been a year now, and we're kind of in the same place with her in ring. And I think people, it is what it is at the end of the day. But still, though, it's not like it was a bad match or anything they did wrong, but it just was what it was. The FCC match, that was good. Again,
it was really good. Yep.
Yeah, like a good match, very good variety too with everybody.
It was interesting to see Mika Iwata in the first minutes of the match do some comedy spots, which she really doesn't do at all in her game usually.
And it actually fit, like in this particular instance, it fit her character. It was, like I said, that's not to harp on the hardcore match too much, but Jiro, there's just no logic in anything. Here, you actually had something where she had a purpose to be playing along with this like goofy Koguma stuff, in that it's like the straight man and the goofy guy comedy act, which is very popular in Japanese comedy as well anyway. But here I thought they did that great too. I thought they did like a really great job with it. Yeah, she doesn't do it a lot, but in this particular performance, I thought she was very amusing in it. And I love Koguma a lot. I think she's like one of the most underrated performers in general. And both teams were great. When it was time to flip the switch, they flipped it and it was really good. So I like that match. I actually liked it better than the main event, actually. But not by a ton. Like, they were on the same level for sure. It's not like I think that the main event could never beat this match. I just preferred this one a little bit more, but I also had lower expectations for it too, compared to the title match. But yeah, and the other stuff, the undercard stuff. We got to look at Stephanie Mays in the other match.
Yes, I thought that she came in well. Didn't do a lot in this match, actually. Lots of kicking alongside Yura Suzuki, but I thought that she and Yura Suzuki, they played along well together. So I would say continue these two, to pair these two as a tag team for Stephanie Mays' tour here in Japan. It was a good first start for her.
Yeah, another like really short match. You had 6 people. Nobody could really stand out that much.
Yeah.
I would have wanted more with some of the names of like Chi-Chi, Katakura, Vinny, Hiroyo. Those are top tier workers, and obviously you would think Mays and Suzuki could grow from that, but this was not really that. It was just an undercard match. Zones and Sakura Hirota, it was what it was at the end of the day.
I mean. It was such a fun comedy match, and I really don't get why the rating is so poor for it. I mean, it's a 4.6 rating on Cage Match.
That is low. I mean, I wouldn't say
it was just inoffensive comedy, man.
Yeah. It's. I can see. I think a reason why it's so low is that this was like, this was
the second longest match on the show. The third. No, actually not. But it was quite a long match in comparison to all the other matches.
Yeah, it was longer than the title match and the match that followed it. So that probably is what the problem was. But I'll never hate Sakura Hirota, but there's nothing to analyze there. It's, she's just funny and it's fun. Opening match, solid opener. Really like Yuna. She's really growing a lot. I like Yuna too. And I hope they continue to push her well. I think that they did a good job getting Akane over too with her. I thought they worked pretty well together, and it was a nice little opener. Nothing to write home about. But this is a good show. Nothing was really. The thing is, all of this stuff. All the main matches were disappointing from my high expectations, but also nothing was really bad on the show. Outside of like the Dash and Jiro stuff, which is like more of a experimental type of match. I think a lot of people. I mean, I can see by the rating on Cage Match now that you've got me looking at it. It has a good rating. It's higher than the main event even. So a lot of people liked it. Clearly, it just wasn't for me. But nothing was too bad on the show otherwise. And, and if you might have even liked that match, you got a really good complete show, which I think Sendai Girls is always good for. Top to bottom, you're very rarely going to have a match on their shows where it's like, this stinker match happened. It's very rare for that to happen.
Yeah, I wanted to briefly touch on the show that I just alluded to earlier with the Sadiism show in Yokohama that drew a big crowd of 2,693. And, the show itself, you could compare it to the Sendai Girls show. It wasn't the best show in ring, except for the outstanding main event that I mentioned. What this show had was the incredible presentation. The entrance looked so damn great and put over all these women that were competing on that show to a different level than Korakuen Hall ever could, because of the limits that Korakuen Hall has in entrance presentation. The stage and the video wall that they had was just outstanding, and I would really wish for more Yoshi shows to go on the grander stage like this to present the talent that is definitely there and that is incredibly good at this stage here in 2026, to get more of these shows where talent get highlighted by the bigger presentation. And hopefully, Dylan, that is something that we're gonna get with the two upcoming big cards that we have for Stardom and for Marvelous.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it. It's that time of year to do that kind of big thing, and we're gonna get into it right now, I presume.
Yes, we're going to get into that. So Stardom has the All-Star Grand Queendom show on April 26th from Yokohama Arena. Last year, obviously, they had the main event between Saya Kamitani and Tam Nakano in the career versus career match that Saya Kamitani won with the now very famous image of them sitting on the ramp and looking into the starlight. That became iconic, I would say. We haven't seen Tam Nakano since. And this show drew a crowd of 7,503 fans to Yokohama Budokan. And as I'm looking at the card right now, I wouldn't expect Stardom to draw as well as they did for that big match last year. Dylan, what do you expect the crowd to turn out like?
I think it's going to be a big show. I don't know if it'll match last year's, but I think they've actually done a pretty great job building up the main event. And in this case, they took a situation where it's like, last year you had this big star match, and they built it up with that big free show they put on YouTube, where they had Tom and Saya fight in there, and that got a ton of interest. And it led to the big retirement stipulation, which was huge. And that match was a big match already. There's a lot of history between them. They've done a great job of telling a full year's worth of story in the main event this year, but it's taking a match on its own, which I really didn't have that much interest in at all. And the way they built it up has made it like, okay, this feels like a worthy match in this main event, which there's been years where they fumbled at this event when it came to the Momo challenge a few years ago. I put in that category where it's like, okay, this should not be your main event of your biggest show of the year. And now with this feels like a legit main event. They built it up great. The big storyline is it's the red belt match, of course, with Saya Kamitani defending against Sayaka Kurara. And the stipulation is if Kurara loses, then Cosmic Angels has to break up. And if you follow along the storyline going, again, back a year now, basically this all started when Tom was still around. It was Kurara was like a side character in the Tom and Kamitani match last year. And that Kamitani had this whole angle where she was like, Kurara became a wrestler because of me, not you. And yes, you're her friend, but she should come with me instead and be my protege so I can steal her from you. And they did a whole war over her pretty much. And it turned out that Kurara chose Tom Nakano in a wonderful tag match, a friendship power moment where they teamed up and hit a double spear together. And it was a great, great moment when that happened. So Kurara won the Cinderella tournament last year. And she used her wish to challenge for the red belt after Tom Nakano had retired last year. And so they had a match which sold out Korakuen and was a really overachieving match for a rookie wrestler.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Sure. Yes, that was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've gone through that and all that's happened over the past year. And then this, a couple of months ago, Carrara challenged Kamatani, and Kamatani was like, no, you don't deserve it. And then every single show, almost pretty much, Carrara would get on the mic and challenge Kamatani, and Kamatani would tell her, no, I'm not defending the belt against you. Until finally, Carrara won in the Cinderella Tournament final show. They had a tag match, and Carrara pinned Kamatani with the Violet Screwdriver, which was Tom Nakano's old super finisher. So she used Nakano's finisher to beat Kamatani, and Kamatani was like, screw it, fine, I'll defend the belt against you, but you have to put something on the line, and you can't copy Nakano from last year. And so Carrara put Cosmic Angels on the line and said, if she loses, the band is breaking up, pretty much. They tried to tell a little bit of, like, not heat, but kind of intrigue about Poi and Ano and their feelings. And like, hey, we didn't really agree to this. Why are you the one to do this way? But long story short of all of this, to me, it was great build-up because by her using that move and because of the stipulation and because of everything involved in all of this, they've more or less teased heavily that Tom Nakano will be involved in all of this in some way. And I do expect that. I'm not sure what's going to happen with it, but they've teased something huge happening one way or the other, which is the thing you want in a main event. I mean, we're going to talk about the Dragon Gate show, which I don't consider well built at all, but but in that main event, and just like this one has been very, very well built with a year-long worth of story. But the main thing they have in common is that regardless of what the result is, something major is going to happen. Either Tom returns, helps her protege, and somehow she overcomes the odds and ends this legendary title reign, or your like big faction with the spirit of Tom Nakano guiding it is breaking up forever, and that is going to set off a chain of events that causes the whole promotion to change in some form or fashion. So I think it's a great main event. And I think I'm super excited for that match in particular. The rest of the card, Hanan, she won the Cinderella tournament in a fantastic match versus Rina.
Over her sister Rina,
Yeah, like an absolutely excellent match there that she won the tournament with. She's facing Konami, who's a really boring champion, and I'm not the biggest Hanan fan, but hopefully she wins just to
Yes, absolutely. I was so cheering for Saya Ida when she faced Konami to finally take the belt off her, and I was really crushed when that didn't happen.
Yeah, that was like months ago when that happened. Yeah. I'm still rooting for her to lose in all of her matches. So yeah, that match isn't that great compared to last year. Shuri and Megan Bayne should be a good match. I like Megan Bayne well enough. And
she's in a great run right now in AEW with Alina Cross too.
Yeah, they're a good team, and Shuri's a great performer. I think they're going to make that match work. The tag match, that's cool for O2 Line that they're back together. This is another one where I just want the titles to change, like more than anything.
I mean, they've been champions for a long time now, since July 2025.
Yeah, and if I were to make predictions, I think both of those titles will change hands for the record. Like the Goddesses belts and the Wonder of Stardom. I think that they both will change hands.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Future Stardom match could be a banger. Rana Yagami is a great champion. Emma Maishima's showing a lot of personality lately. I think they're going to have a good match as well. Suzu and Rina versus Maika and Hanako. Stupid build, like terrible feud earlier in the year. It's a waste of everyone's time. This match. The other matches, Ano and Fuwachan. Yeah, Fuwachan, she's a celebrity wrestler, but she's fully involved now, and they've done this feud, which is like not that serious to be honest. I do have to say, but the funny thing is about this match is that if Fuwachan loses, she's going to have to wrestle under her real name, not Fuwachan anymore. She's going to have a first name added on. Now, they did do a similar, if you remember, they did a thing last year at the start of 2025 where they had Unagi Sayaka versus Tom Nakano, like loser leaves town, which Sayaka did return later on anyway. She totally broke that stipulation, but nevertheless, they did a thing where she would have to leave Stardom forever, quote unquote, if she lost, or if Tom Nakano lost, she would have to wrestle under her real name, not Tom. Like they specifically said, like Tom Nakano will leave forever, but the performer who portrays Tom Nakano will stay. Like so. They're doing it against
her soul will leave, but the body is going to be there.
I guess so, and I guess it's the same thing for Fuwachan here. And they did a deal where Fuwachan was like, "Oh, we were friends, we were all this, we were so close," and Ano was like, "Yeah, we weren't really that close, actually. Like, I never thought of you as that much of a friend." And then we have Natsupoi and Maki Ito. Maki Ito is doing her, like, she's building her faction, and she's got this cutest world title, or cutest in the universe. Which is
I was gonna ask you about Maki. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about Maki Ito. How do you think she did since debuting in Stardom?
She fills a role on the roster. I think this is about where she should be, to be honest. Having a match with Poi, and it's for, and she's had this feud in the past. Where when she was coming up, I was wondering like. She was doing the thing with like Aya Sakura for the cutest world title or whatever.
Right.
And that was all right. Like that wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything that's going to. She's not a game changer performer in this company. She's like a mid card level comedy performer, which is fine. Like I mean that and I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just that's where she is. Like her whole gimmick is to be fun, lighthearted, kind of like not the same as Saki Kashima, but in a similar role, I would say, but a little higher up the card. I think they could move her up if they wanted to, if she wanted to, and they wanted to. And I wish that Poi had something better to do, to be perfectly honest with you, on this big show. But she's been kind of cycled down for a while now, so it's not that surprising. I think it's actually a good spot for both of them, considering where they've been so far. But overall, the show itself, the main event, I think...
One thing left, Dylan, before we...
Yeah.
There's Saki Kashima's retirement ceremony, of course. That's
which is not a match. It's itself.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
exactly. But it's going to take place. But it could turn into a match, I guess, because Starlight Kid is not on the card.
Yeah, that's another weird thing on all of this. Who I thought was one of like the MVPs last year of the company, and her match with Kamatani was match of the year, like one of the best matches of the year to me in any company.
Exciting stuff.
And I wish that she had something better to do. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Yeah, the Saki Kashima retirement will be fun. I'm sure some silly stuff will happen, but to me, the main event is this. Like that is the show to me. Like the main event is what I care about. Everything else will probably be fun. There's nothing here I think is outside of that tag match with Mike and Hanako. I have no interest in that whatsoever. But everything else could at least have a good moment. Like if Hanan and O2 Line win, I would be into that. And Shuri and Mega Man could pop off and be a great match. But really, the main event is where everything on the show hinges on the main event. And that's very exciting to see overall. So I'm glad that they have that built up in a match that I would not have expected myself to be into at all. And they built it up so well. I just wish the rest of the card was on the same level, but it's really not.
Okay, all right. So that is the one big Yoshi card coming up at the end of April. Then, like I said, Marvelous. They are in Yokohama Buntai, and they also have a full card that I'm going to run down from bottom to top this time here. What I have in front of me starts out with an WWE ID title match between Starboy Charlie and Titus. Starboy has a new name now that I forgot.
Chaz Starboy Hall, Superstar.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then we have a match that I'm really looking forward to with Mio Yamashita versus Senka Akatsuki. Dylan. That should be really good.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to just see how these two workers work with each other stylistically. So
yes,
should be a good
especially
match.
coming from different promotions, both definitely with a chip on their shoulder coming into this show. We'll see. Then we got a couple of multi-man matches here. Alan Angels and Ray Lynn versus Miko Alana and Vinny Masato. Sakura Hirota and Kohei Sato versus Yosuke Santa Maria and Rene Michelle in a 4-way tag match. That is Match right from the booking bot, man. Lovely stuff here.
Shout out Vinny.
Yes, shout out Vinny,
legend.
Man. Yeah. Teaming with his trainee, Miko Alana, by the way.
And, that should be an interesting match for sure. Can't believe Kohei Sato's still wrestling, but here we are.
Yes. What has he done in recent months?
Or years, decades.
Or years.
It feels like
years.
I know
he's wrestling. He's wrestling mainly in Tenryu Project.
No. Yeah, I saw him on some of those shows, but I haven't thought about him too much. That's the problem.
Yeah. How's he suddenly? I mean, he was on one Marvelous show last year, but on which he was facing Robert Marder and Shoji Ono. What a wild match that is too.
Love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a fun match, I guess. We have Chigusa Nagayo, Ai Hosan, and Ruka Amahane versus Aja Kong, Soraya Ayame, and Hijiri Saotome. Then there's a hardcore match. Veni, Shikayo Nakashima, Echika Miyabi, and Rina Yamashita versus Masha Slamovich, Johnny Robbie, Queen Aminata, and Jesse Jackson. Obviously Marvelous got the pushback for bringing in Masha Slamovich. That is a name that was part of their history going back years and years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well,
what a weird group of promotions. Like, looking at this card, like, all of these different promotions on the same show. Like, AEW, Stardom, Marvelous. WWE. Yeah, WWE's there.
Yeah, TJPW is there. Yeah, it's a weird undercard, definitely. Then we get to the meat of the show, starting with a singles match between Mio Momono and Mei Seira.
Somebody else who should be doing something on All-Star Great
Kingdom. Stardom card, absolutely.
But nevertheless.
Yeah. Rin, in her retirement match, teams with Mayu Iwatani. Also here, Marigold and Stardom on the same show again here.
Yeah.
Rin and Mayu Iwatani against Itsuki Aoki and Mio Momono. The AAAW Tag Team title is on the line when Maria and Rico defend against Nyla Rose and Nightshade. Nyla Rose also, of course, legacy for Marvelous. And the AAA singles title match that I mentioned before, Takumi Iroha versus Sari Dylan.
Should be great. Sari's a proven draw. I expect the show to be a very successful show. And Iroha did deliver in that tag match. I've been pretty skeptical of her as a singles, but in the tag matches, she's came through a couple of times recently. And I think with Sari there, that's going to be the secret sauce, and I expect that to be a great match. The retirement match is going to be fantastic, but Seira and Momono is that's an elite tier match to me, and I hope that it gets time to deliver. That's really my fear on some of these matches, is that there's all these people on this show. They're probably going to have some special stuff on there. I just hope that the matches that I love the most they get time,
I hope so. I mean, these multi-man matches, they really don't need to go long. Like this 4-way tag can be done in 6 to 8 minutes, I would say.
Yeah.
The hardcore match probably gets some time because probably they are gonna do a brawl outside. Chigusa Nagayo in her match, I mean, that could get some time, but I'm not expecting it to go anything past 10 minutes or so. So you should really have time for the main matches.
Well, I hope so. Is all I can say on that.
Yeah. All right. Then this concludes the Yoshi portion of the show. We are going to go over to let's start with Noah, because they had their Apex Conquest 2026 show in Nagoya this past weekend. When I saw what was built up for Sumo Hall in May, I asked you what the show was like, and you said it was bad, and so I didn't watch. So, can you give a brief rundown of this show in Nagoya?
Yeah, it was bad. Let's move on.
You.
So Inamura defended. It's just like all the other Team 2000X matches. They ran in a lot. If there was, I thought the tag match was bad, but some people liked it, I guess.
Some people liked the main event too. It has a rating of 8.08 on Cage Match.
And that's very generous of them. I think that the junior tag was probably the best on the show, but even then it was like a 7 out of 10. Lycos Jim, when I first saw Kid Lycos, I thought, man, like this has to be the worst of Brit Res. But actually, when I see them team together, like they're not that like they're one of the more tolerable Brit Res acts to me, to be honest.
No, they're actually really good.
Yeah, they're tolerable, I would say. And Alejandro and Bane are really good, I would say. And that match worked well enough. It was good. I wouldn't say great, but it was good. And hopefully the Lycos brothers or whatever they're supposed to be are do their thing going forward in Noah, because I think they're one of the better foreigner acts they brought in recently, for sure. And everything else, one thing I'll say about Noah, and in this show in general, and all of their shows recently, I think they figured out.
Before we go to that, Dylan, I just want to quickly shout out Kid Lycos, because Kid Lycos had to end his career due to different injuries in 2019, but then came back. And I know that it was always a dream of his to be able to compete in Japan, other than going over with Fight Club Pro, that I think he was over years ago. So really good for him and Lycos too to be able to on a show and also on this position of the card.
Yeah, they told a great story. Like back in the day, he was big with Brooks and everything before Brooks came over to Japan, and they pulled off some good stuff. And like I said, I like them. I think that they're I hope they're one of the better foreigner acts that Noah's brought in. But yeah, like I said, I don't even remember what I'm going to say. Let's just move on. Like I don't even care about this card. Like let's just move on.
I was just gonna ask you two more things about Noah. First, we talked about Harutoki last year coming into the promotion, and we weren't really high on his first couple of months there, especially not his N1 run last year. How do you think he's doing right now?
Well, I didn't love that match, but not necessarily because of him. I just, I thought they at least tried to bring this into something better for Kitami and Sugiura, which I've hated their tag run so much in Team 2000X. Like two great workers reduced to this nonsense. They had a more normal match here, and Harutoki looked fine. I don't really see him as any kind of star player. They tried to build him up like that going into the tournament last year, and I didn't really see it at all. And he's teamed with Kaito, who's like totally checked out, I think at this point, and I don't really blame him.
Actually, the second question that I was going to ask.
Well, I mean, he's doing dojo stuff now, so like the wrestling isn't maybe not as important to him anymore, and I mean that's fine. Like like we're not missing anything with him not being in the main event,
which is actually not great at 29 years old.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at his career, like it's fine. At the end of the day, like these two are fine. And Kaito's a great worker, but star power wise, that's never like that's over with. Like he's where he is, and that's it. Like I don't think there's really anything more to say about them. Harutoki, one thing I think I would like to see them try is maybe like give him some kind of angle and not just turn to Team 2000X, which is like their favorite angle to do with everyone, it seems like. Give him some kind of angle, maybe get his own faction, a new look, get him some better gear, new theme music. We saw how much that could help with Callum Newman. All of that stuff. Try to give him the opportunity to drag some swag out of him, because I don't think he actually has any of that. Like, he's a good worker, but in terms of star presence, he's lacking in a major way. So, I mean, we'll see if there's some change with him. It's not like I'm saying throw in the towel on him, because he is one of they're good young guys. And again, I was going to say, now that we've talked more about it, I like all the young guys they have, all their rookie guys, and they're smart in how they use them. Like, if you look at every one of their undercard matches, the matches that don't matter, they're all kept very short. Like, the undercard doesn't drag on and on like it does with New Japan, like, a lot of the time. They cut things up. I mean, like, Angel Reyes and Null are, like, so bad that they can't even trust them to do 5-minute matches. And they're right. Like, I mean, that Null match had 6 people and went 3 minutes. And they're right. Like, they shouldn't be giving these people more time than they've got. But everybody else, the native rookies all look good. And I hope that they have a bright future with them. But I don't know. You know, it's hard to tell with this company. It's such a downer promotion in every way to me. And one of my big issues going into this match, and I think a reason why maybe I didn't like this match that much, the thing is, how can you say this match was that good compared to the other Team 2000X's matches, which were very similar in layout? Like, the same stuff always happens in these Team 2000 matches. You know, much like House of Torture or whatever heel faction you want to bring up. This is not any different than that, like what they're doing. And a big reason why I didn't like this one, I especially didn't like this match, and it's nothing to do with these guys' talent, by the way. Like, Alpha Wolf is a good worker, and Inamura is a very good worker. I've always been a huge fan of these guys. But the problem is, we had just gotten over this. Last month, you had Inamura Kendo in a wrong match. It showed you, hey, this guy still is this guy, even though we haven't seen it in 6 months.
Exactly. The storyline was that Inamura couldn't defend the title against Keno because someone from Team 2000X always kept interfering. And now we're back to that.
And the thing is, we moved on from that, and then it's like we took a step back to have this match here. And I mean, the show did okay. Like, you know, 1280 is a good, like, relatively speaking, for Nagoya for them. But it wasn't like this blew up, you know, or anything like that. Their big thing is they're setting up the next month's show.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Exactly. Next month's show has 3 matches lined up with the junior title match. Amaxa goes against Dragon Bane. Then we have Tetsuya Naito versus Osawa, probably in the match that is supposed to be selling the most tickets for the show. Yeah, and in the main event, Dylan, no, in the main event, it's Shane Haste. The WWE guy is Shane Haste going against Yoshiki Inamura for the GHC heavyweight title.
I felt really bad for him. I mean, that angle totally bombed when he came out. I mean,
how wouldn't it? It's been so long since Shane Haste has been in Noah. How long has it been?
That had to be before 2015. You know,
it was his last match was in 2016 for Pro Wrestling Noah. 2016. That's 10 years ago, and since then, Pro Wrestling Noah has drastically changed in various ways, and the crowd
has been sold twice.
Changed. Yeah, it's been sold twice, and the crowd has changed so much over the years that I don't know how you can expect someone to remember TMDK's Shane Haste, obviously a legacy guy for the early part of the 2010s, great tag team with Mikey Nichols in during this era, but it's not like that anyone that is, or most of the crowd that is going to promo shows now remembers who Shane Haste was, and especially he never was a guy that you could put in a main event situation like Sumo Hall.
Well, the thing is, they're not bringing him in because he's a former Noah guy. They're bringing him because he's a former New Japan guy.
Yeah. And a former WWE guy.
I mean, he really wasn't. Like, he was on NXT, and they weren't even on there.
But that's what they're saying.
Yeah, but that's not the the reason is because he was in New Japan. Like, nobody cared about a TM61 like in NXT. I mean, I wish it was Mad Mikey, to be honest, because he was way better than Shane Haste by the end of their New Japan run.
And Dylan, remember that I remember that New Japan run when he was in the G1 Climax in 2023, and I hated his run.
Yeah, he was
so bad. Bad.
Yeah, he was really bad. And Mikey came out of nowhere and had like the unexpected. Yeah, and you know, back in those days of Noah, everyone thought Haste was the A guy of the team, like the one everyone thought would be better. But I just think somewhere along the line, probably in that WWE run, probably took out all of their love for wrestling, and he just lost it. You know, I think he just lost caring about wrestling. And Mikey, for whatever reason, said, "Damn it, I'm gonna hit people really hard in this, and I'm gonna make my way that way. And I'm gonna do a lot of damage. I'm gonna headbutt people. I'm gonna drop them on their heads with the Master Blaster. Man, that would be like him versus Inamura would be a banger main event. Instead, we got Haste, who was twerking last time we saw him in New Japan. You know, I don't even remember them doing anything with Kenta, because that was a story. Like, Kenta was going to bring over, and he came out with a White Raven squad shirt or whatever. I don't remember them ever being aligned in NXT, but I didn't care about NXT.
No, they actually never were. The only connection is that they both were in NXT.
And then I mean, it makes sense. They were both in Noah before that. I guess it makes sense. But do people want to see this? Is another different question. Like, a story can make sense and not be good, And this is his chance if you think about it. Like, somehow they're not main eventing, by the way. Naito and Ozawa is going to be the main event. Sure. Like I said, but even still, this is a chance for a guy they're going to roll the dice on. I mean, they did something somewhat similar with Manabu Soya a few years ago, where they put him in the title match against Keno, and they had another match in the main event of that too. I think that was the Ibushi and Marufuji match that was on that. I may be wrong on that, but Soya was in the main event versus Keno on January 1st, or not the main event, but in the title match against Keno. And
could have been, could have been the same show.
Yeah, but something else was in the main event for sure, and they tried to roll the dice on somebody who basically did nothing for a decade, and he was very motivated, had a lot of great matches.
Yeah, it was the same show. It was Ibushi and Marufuji, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad I got that right. Off the dome. But yeah, he was very motivated, had a lot of great matches, worked really hard, and showed that he was so valuable, and he was still Manabu Soya at the end of the day. And that's not a main eventer, like, no matter what happens. And with Shane Haste, I think the same fate will apply here, except he hasn't actually worked hard or had great matches. He's just coming in to have a chance. Now, I don't know why they're doing this. The only thing I can think of is they're so, like, Ozawa and Naito is their biggest match that they could possibly run under any circumstances. Now, if you know this, in Japan, this show is happening at the same time as a sold out Tokyo Dome Naoya Inoue boxing main event. At the same time, they're challenging here. This show is not going to do good, people. Like, I don't know why this happened, like why they had to schedule it this. I don't know if it was a money issue or nobody knew at the time. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't know that fight was happening then. I don't know when this show was booked at the end of the day.
Yeah,
but and this was just incredibly bad luck, which is possible. Like, I mean, that's totally possible. But it's bad luck nonetheless. And this is going to be rough. Like, this show is going to be rough. They're basically throwing in the towel on the title match. And they're just hoping Ozawa and Naito can save the show from a drawing perspective. That makes sense in a lot of ways. But I actually think you can't book this building and just punt it. You have to try. Like, you can't just say, well, they did it. Remember they did that junior show that bombed horribly, where they're like, we're going to do an all junior show. Wasn't that at Sumo?
I think it was.
Yeah, it did like 1,000 fans. It was like the worst show ever in terms of attendance or something like that. So they did punt it there. But again, are they punting it, or is this? And I always say this whenever something Noah adjacent happens. Is this Nosawa's true? Like, in his mind, he thinks this is genius, and the people booking this company, like, this is this brilliant plan they have, and this is gonna solve all their problems. Is that what we're thinking? Because I don't think that. I mean, maybe I'll be wrong.
I don't think that there is a plan at all that is going in any kind of direction, except for we have Tetsuya Naito now, and we are going to milk this Los Tranquilos angle.
I suspect he's going to win that match in the main event and
go for the title.
Him.
Yes,
and he's going for the title. Like, I knew that as soon as he signed. You're not going to sign Naito and not have him go for the title.
I mean, that gives you a couple of months of programming, and that's all they need, I guess, because that's what they're doing. They need programming, and they need to fill these buildings that they book. That's all that is Pro Wrestling Noah right now.
Well, they're not filling it because one of his promos was burying Ozawa for not filling any of their shows, and he's like, "Look around, why aren't there any people here?"
Oh, good stuff. No. They took the story from WWE there, right?
Mm-hmm. yeah. So it wasn't as direct as that, but it was just as dumb when you think about it. Especially considering he is also on these shows as well. And I saw it a couple of months ago that Noah fans were not the online reaction to Naito was not all praise and LIJ love like it was in New Japan, like among the Noah fans. There's some people that like. Yeah.
It's again fantastic that I'm looking at this show now, because usually you think that the GHC Tag Team title is a great vehicle to feature talent that is not used in singles storylines, but now you're using the tag team champions in singles storylines at the big show, because it's not only Naito versus Osawa, but it's also Bushi against Jun Masaoka on this show.
Yeah, and they set that up in the tag match that they did there. And I got to say, like, Bushi, I thought he tried to hold that together on his side. But Naito is, like, irredeemable at this point.
Dylan, you're going to see Naito, you said Naito is irredeemable. I saw Bushi at 16 karat gold, and I wouldn't have thought it, but my opinion of Bushi has even lowered after seeing him live.
It's something we never knew was possible, but it happened.
Absolutely horrible.
It's Bushi. I mean, we have to have our expectations in proper check here.
Got a great Bushi story to tell you after the show.
Yes, I look forward to that. I'm always in favor of Bushi stories in my life. But anyway, they're trying. They have a tag tournament coming up after this. I bet Mikey's going to come in. They're going to put TMDK into that. And, we'll see what they have after that. And I think that Naito is going to challenge for that title and win that title. And then we'll see what they set up for and he'll hold it until January 1st, in my opinion. But we'll see.
And then you need a big match for that show, obviously.
Yeah, there's no one bigger on the cards than Naito, if they want to go there. Like, regardless of whatever we think of him in the ring. And again, some people like the tag match, on cage match, so that's good.
Yep.
And hopefully maybe he'll win people over, I suppose. I just think this show, it's not doing, like, Shane Haste, with all due respect, and I like him as a person. I like him a lot, like, and Mikey too. Like, I think they're really cool dudes. I just don't understand this. Like, in New Japan, he wasn't a main event player in any way whatsoever. Like, WWE, New Japan, Noah, he was never a main eventer to go for the world title in Sumo Hall. That doesn't make any sense to me, Strigger. At the end of the day,
no, there's no track record of him ever being on that level, or drawing on that level ever.
And I feel like they're not doing this, like, they're booking Inamura strong, but in the most ass ways possible, to where it's not actually. He has this long reign with these defenses and stuff, and it feels like, I don't know. Like, he doesn't feel like a major star to me when I watch these matches. Even against Keno, I don't really see him as, like, a top star in this gimmick. Maybe it's the gimmick, maybe it's the fans, maybe it's the booking. I don't know. But I do know they weren't into this match in the main event of that show you were talking about, the Apex Conquest. And I don't know how this match with Haste is going to go. I hope it's good. I think it could be a good match. If Haste really tries, I think maybe it could be good. But from a drawing perspective, I don't get it, and all we can do is wait and see.
They have this show is actually named Spring Mayhem Ryogoku 2026, and they have a show on the very next day that is called After Mayhem. We're gonna see what that actually means.
At least they're consistent.
Yes,
I guess.
There actually was a longer Pro Wrestling Noah segment than I had anticipated. But sometimes it's head scratching what they do. For a long time in the last couple of months, Dylan, head scratching was also the theme of All Japan Pro Wrestling. Now they have opened up their Champion Carnival tournament this past Sunday in Korakuen Hall, drawing 1,194 fans. I thought it was an interesting show, top to bottom, especially because they didn't put Kento Miyahara in a big match on this show. I thought it was kind of a test run, what they could do in Korakuen without Kento on top. And they did roughly 1,200, which is okay. I think it was quite the good turnout, but could have been better. On this show, we saw Go Shiozaki go over Yuma Anzai in approximately 24 minutes in an absolute banger. And an absolute banger of an opening main event for this tournament. This is exactly what a tournament like the Champion Carnival needs. Go Shiozaki going over Yuma Anzai. I call it a great generational battle. Right after the match ended with Shiozaki defeating Anzai with numerous Goan lariats. Shiozaki took out Anzai's leg early in the match, trying to put him down. Anzai kept coming back and kept showing great fire as a babyface. with Go Shiozaki actually not leaning into the Havoc stuff that he used to do for the last couple of months, but he came out to his own theme music and not to the Havoc theme music, which got over quite well too. Has a rating of 9.10 on Cage Match, was put over by a lot of our mutuals on Twitter in recent days, and watching it live was just a complete blast. I'm so high on both of these guys right now, and I would really be happy with either one winning the Champion Carnival down the line.
Yeah, they both will eventually. I would say.
Eventually.
I think this year's probably goes to lose, and the attendance was good. They did basically what this was up from last year, and last year had Kento and the night one.
Oh yeah. That's interesting. Uh-huh.
I mean, it was about 100 people. It wasn't anything crazy, or 90 people, I guess. So, it wasn't anything crazy, but it was good. And the crowd was into it. The fans loved. I mean, the main event was so great, to be honest. So, like, that definitely helps when you have this kind of level of an excellent main event. That's going to go a long way. Just a normal match, nothing crazy to it. They didn't try and reinvent wrestling or anything like that. They just I'm Go, you're Yuma Anzai. We both are great. Let's have this great wrestling match.
Let's do it.
And then I'm
just looking at it. 2 years ago, they had Yuma Anzai over Jun Saito in the first show of the Champion Carnival, which did a little bit less than this one as well. So yeah, I would say it's a good draw.
Yeah, and then Anzai is going to go on The Bachelorette now after this. So
it was just announced that he's going to be on TV. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's interesting. There, it makes sense. I feel like
he's
he
a good-looking guy.
Yeah, he's got a great great path ahead. He has goals. He's got athletic abilities. Maybe his personality is going to shine on that show. I'm rooting for my man Yuma to get a new love interest in his life, and I hope he wins the whole show and becomes super famous. That would help All Japan, honestly, if he became like a celebrity. But yeah, the match was unbelievable, though. Everybody's got to watch this. This was so good, and I just love that. I thought that they did a great job with building this match to where Go was like the tree that Anzai had to chop down, except this tree actually chops you down. yeah, and not just chops back, he attacks before you even know what you're doing. And Anzai was just he's such a freaking incredible face in peril type of guy. Like when he's working from under, he has to be among the greatest to me, Anzai. He's the best in any company right now in terms of selling, like working from under. I think that he does it better than anybody else, and I think that's what made this match so great, is that Go was really, like you said, none of the Havoc stuff. It's like, this is Go, this is classic Go, I'm going for the belt. I had that exchange on X with Dylan Fox, and that inspired me to be my best self, and now he's fired up. And he knew by me mentioning that I liked his Ring of Honor and FIP runs that he needed to go back to those days.
Oh wow, that's a deep cut here.
And he even said those times were very special to him. He told me that.
I'm sure they were,
as they should be. They're FIP champion. You can go Shiozaki for the record. But so anyway, he looked awesome in this match, and Anzai was a great working from under as well. And he's a guy that, I think this match can work with anybody and be really great, but it's really great when you have somebody as good as Go on here. It shows you too that his run in All Japan, say what you want about Havoc, the face paint, whatever, he's made this work. He's proven multiple times that this guy is still one of the best work, like in ring to me, in any company. I think if you put him up toe to toe, pound for pound, he's up there with anybody. I think that he could be a great. I think he's going to win this tournament, and I think he's the right choice to win. Honestly, I think he's just really great right now.
And putting it into perspective, it is amazing how Go Shiozaki is still able to move. I mean, they did this chain wrestling sequence in the first couple of seconds of the match and got a huge reaction from the crowd. And in comparison to others, for example, I mean, Hiroshi Tanahashi, he just retired, Tanahashi obviously debuted in 1999, but he was when you looked at him here in 2026, he was complete toast. He couldn't walk anymore. But Go Shiozaki, he's still able to move really smoothly 21 years into his career.
Yeah, I mean, he suffered major injuries too. It's not like, he's missed it. There's been times where he's missed months and months and months of time in action. So even with those injuries, even with the baggage, even with him, and Noah, they phased him out basically, like, because they didn't have confidence in him anymore. Remember his last run in Noah ended with him putting over Harutoki, who we mentioned earlier, who went winless in the tournament later on. So, him in All Japan, he's had a renaissance, and I think it's only going to get better from here as long as he can stay, as long as his body holds up. I don't think there's any way he's not going to have a great run through this tournament and going forward. And again, I think this match alone basically set us up for a great expectations ahead.
Dude, I am absolutely ready for Triple Crown champion Go Shiozaki to go on a monster run for the remainder of this year and then be dethroned by Yuma Anzai in January of 2027.
Yeah, I said that exact idea on Twitter because it's the best idea. And if that happens, it would be great, I think.
Yep. Absolutely.
With the Bachelorette seconding Anzai at ringside.
Yes, that's going to give him the strength that he needs.
Yes, absolutely.
On the topic of the strength that we need, sadly, we learned that Cyrus dropped out of the Champion Carnival and hasn't been in contact with All Japan for weeks now, and nobody apparently has heard anything from the guy, which is worrying in many ways. But in his absence, Yuma Aoyagi got back into the Champion Carnival, his first big gig after returning from his suspension for a couple of months. Like I said on the last show that we did, he just did a couple of undercard matches since returning, and then this opportunity popped up, and they put him back into contention here with the Champion Carnival. And Dylan, what did Yuma Aoyagi do? He produced a banger with Daisuke Sekimoto, and by far the second best match of this show. 15 minutes, they went all out in the third match of this show, just really hammering down the point that both of these guys should be higher up on the cards, with Sekimoto, of course, having a long career behind him, but still being able to perform, and Yuma Aoyagi coming from a long run of goofiness and before he got suspended, and here he is back. He returned with a banger. Scariest moment of the match was this dive that Sekimoto did, where Yuma wasn't really able to catch big dude Sekimoto, and Sekimoto rammed his head into the guardrail and got busted open by that, which produced a great visual. But yeah, great stuff here.
Yeah, this match was so freaking awesome. And what a great return performance for Aoyagi here. And he's somebody that this is why I've never fully given up on him, even when things were going way down, which was basically all of last year, I have to say, because I knew how great he could be. It wasn't that long ago before he was the best worker in this company, and I know that guy's still there if he wants to show it. I think his issues are more mental than he now cannot wrestle as good as he used to. He can. He just wants to do this other stupid stuff that he was doing. and now that he's back, it feels like he's come back with a fresh perspective. And damn, did it produce a great match here. Sekimoto was awesome as well. Like you said, that dive with the blood, that was just that added to make this match so chaotic and what it was.
I watched this dive over and over again. I put it on Twitter also as a video because it just looked so incredible.
And Sekimoto, I mean, that's the thing. He's always the guy, he's not one of the best going like he used to be. But when he's in the right position to do things, he can still deliver to a pretty freaking high level.
I mean, that shows you how great of a worker he is, because he exactly knows his limitations these days, but he also really knows what he's great at and what he can produce with a guy like Yuma Aoyagi.
But sometimes the great part is that he doesn't know his limitations, like diving through the ropes like he did there. Like on there. And I remember even a few years ago, he did some stuff where he like they did some kind of shoot headbutt spot in Big Japan, and he like fired up, and it was so crazy. And I was like, yeah, going into it, I was like, Sekimoto, he's burnt out a little bit. I wasn't feeling what he was doing, but it's like that switch gets flipped, and he could just bring us all back to 2015 all over again. I love Sekimoto, and Aoyagi, if he performs to this level, he's going to earn a lot more respect. And to be honest with you, I don't know what's going on with Cyrus, but this tournament's better. Like this tournament is upgraded.
He's so significantly better with Aoyagi.
Yeah, this is. I don't care what anybody said. I don't care what he did, what you think, or what the company thinks. From a pure wrestling perspective, this man should be in the tournament, and he's going to make it better, like through his appearance in it. And we just saw it. Like the proof is right here. And if he keeps this up, then this tournament that's the main takeaway of this whole show. Because there's like very minimal comments on the other matches, but by the end of this show, with the main event and this great match, it's like these two matches were better than anything last year. Like pretty much, like especially the main event. Like I'm much more interested in this tournament after this show, which makes it a big success for night one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just talking about Hiroshi Tanahashi retiring this year. You know who else debuted in 1999? It's Daisuke Sekimoto, man. He's 45 years old, 26 years into his career, and still performing like this year, man.
Yeah, if he's another one. If he brings this level to all of his matches, then this is going to be a fantastic tournament on his end. And again, Aoyagi, I never gave up on him fully. I was out on his run last year because what he was doing was terrible. But I know deep down his talent is still there. And if he shows it, then this is going to be a big time tournament with a guy like that we didn't anticipate coming into it, having this level of work coming from that spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned there's minimal comments on the other matches. We started out with Rei Saito going over Kumarashi in a heavyweight sprint match that I thought was well done. 8 minutes was a good time for that.
Yeah, that was a decent match. Like I thought that was a good return to form for Arashi after I thought his title match just didn't work. I think here it worked a lot better against Rei.
Yeah, same for Rei Saito actually. We had Kengo Mashimo going over Talos in 7 minutes, which was actually really good. I liked the way they worked this match because it was for Kengo Mashimo to get into Talos' reach because Talos is just so tall. And he did well there, and he chopped him down and then pinned him with like this hammerlock style pinfall, which looked really good.
I love, everybody knows how much I love Kengo. He's one of my favorites from the beginning, basically. I love Talos. I think he's a great big man. I think he continues to do big things, and I really, really like that match. This was like the perfect mid-card match to me, and I thought they did a great job.
If you were ever going to bet money on anything, Dylan, I would have advised you to bet money on Zion defeating Hideki Suzuki. I thought it was the most obvious result of this entire tournament. Hideki loves himself his Zion, and it turned out to be a bad match. But
Zion is awful. Like I've given him too many chances at this point.
I think so too.
He was able to hide a little bit in the tag team, I think, for a little while. But he's really bad as a wrestler. Like I think we have to face this fact now. And
he was facing Hideki in this match, and they got 6 minutes. That is not a good sign for his tournament.
Yeah, last year he had the worst match of the tournament, also with Hideki, where he lost the shoes. And they kept this mercifully short, but as a worker, he's so... and like, there's nothing about him that's even good at all. Like, even average. Like, he's just... Why? At least... I don't know. It wasn't a good match. And I've had enough of him. Like, I've totally... on Zion.
Yeah. We had Jun Saito and Ren Ayabe. This match was too long. That is, I think, what has to be the conclusion of this. What I liked about this was the last couple of minutes that they did, where they actually fired up. And I thought that in this match, Ayabe moved better than I had seen him before. He has developed some new foot game, I would say, that makes him not look as clunky as he looked before with his height. And I gotta say, and that is something that I said when they were first teaming, I think that has to do with him teaming with Talos, because Talos also similarly tall guy as Ren Ayabe, and I think that Ayabe is learning. And what else he has is what you pointed out on the last couple of shows that we did too. His death roulette just looks freaking awesome. Also against a guy like Jun Saito, he performed this screw Falcon Arrow against a guy that is 250 pounds. Looked great.
Yeah, that's like his secret sauce. And we got a comment on this in the YouTube, and he was not happy about you disrespecting Ren Ayabe, because I had said that I had thought that, maybe there was hope for him yet. And I'm not saying he's a great worker by any means, but I think he's improved. I really do. Since this tag team, and for the exact reason you just said, working with Talos has helped him be a better big man at the end of the day. Now, there was still some parts of this where I feel like it's too much of, fake Okada, like he's putting into his game, because there were certain spots that was clearly directly lifted from there, and I wasn't too happy with that. But when he got going, like you said, by the end of this match, they actually put together something that was not bad. And again, I think 6 out of 10 is the rating on Cage Match. I think that's about fair, but that's so much better than it would have been a year ago to me. Like, if you had shown me this match and said, these two bums are going 20 minutes, I'd be like, man, this sucks. And instead, they had this match wasn't as good as Ayabe's match with Ray, though, that he had after the tag title match. Because that match was a lot shorter and just better, I would say, in general. But this was still a perfectly acceptable semi-main. And like I said, I think Ayabe genuinely has improved. I'm not saying he's good. I'm really not saying that. But I do think he's gotten better. And he's a guy that's fine when you consider his look, his size. I think he's gotten to a point where he's okay now. Like it's okay to have him in these kind of spots. And that's much better. If you had asked me a year ago, I would have said, no, get this guy out of any kind of main event. But here, I thought he solidified himself from what I thought going in. And hey, we've got a whole tournament left. Things could go sideways. But for right now, that's my vibe on him. And I think this tag run has so helped him out. And I think it's been such a great run from that perspective.
Yeah, and because of these two outstanding matches that we point out with Sekimoto and Aoyagi and Shiozaki and Anzai, this was a good start for the tournament. 7 out of 10 show, I would say. Yeah, good start. We continue on this next coming weekend with 2 shows. The first one is from Nagoya, which is headlined by Kento Miyahara versus Go Shiozaki, another one to pinpoint. And the second show from Osaka Omeda Sky Building Stellar Hall also has Kento, this time against Yuma Anzai. Should be both bangers here.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. The other tournament shows are not scheduled. They are scheduled, but they don't have the exact match lining in front yet. So I can't tell you what the main event of the other shows are, but we'll have this coming weekend. And then they continue on the 23rd in Shinjuku Face. And the final, obviously, is happening on the 17th of May. And I'm guessing that this will also be the date where they do the junior heavyweight title match, Dylan, because throughout this whole tour, they are doing prelude matches with Dan Tamura and Seiko Tachibana on opposite sides, teaming with various cast members of the All Japan roster. That's going to run all the way through May, and then they will do the junior title match. Dan Tamura now has pinned Seiko Tachibana twice, once with a powerbomb and once with the Lama Stray Cradle on this opening day of the Champion Carnival, and they'll face for the junior title.
Should be good.
Should be good. Yes, this concludes All Japan Pro Wrestling. We are going to go and talk about the Dragon Gate card that we have for. Where's it in Nagoya too, right? Golden Colosseum in the Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium. Yep, there it is. 8 matches total. We start with Yamato, Dragon Kid, BB Hulk, and Naruki Doi. Paradox against Masaki Mochizuki, Don Fuji, Punch Tominaga, and Kazuma Kimura. Mochi and Don Fuji obviously still the All Asia Tag Team Champions. Then we have a Sugihara Trading Company's Best Employee contest. Jiro Shinbashi takes on X. We'll see who the other employee of the trading company is. Hio Benkei and Luis Mante go against Jason Lee, Kai, and Ishin. Special singles match, Yuki Yoshioka versus Strong Machine J. Open the Triangle Gate title, KZ, Gyuchi, and Aki, or the Gooch, like you call
the Gooch. That's what I call
him. They are facing Takashi Mondai Ryu and Koji Iwamoto. What a team!
What a team!
Open the Brave Gate title, Ryoya Tanaka versus Yuti. Sixth match on the card, that is. Good spot for the Brave Gate title. Then we have a double title match for the Open the Twin Gate and the Soryo title from Ryokyo Dragon Pro Wrestling, as Jackie Kamai and Rita go against Suzumu Yokosuka and Kagetora. And finally, the loser unit disbands mask versus hair steel cage six-way match. The 6 participating wrestlers fight in a ring surrounded by a steel cage, vying to grab a flag placed at the top of the cage. The wrestlers who grab the flag advance in order and can escape from the cage. Escape is not allowed for the first 5 minutes of the match. The wrestler who fails to grab the flag by the end is the loser and will have their mask removed or their hair cut on the spot. And the unit to which the loser belongs will be disbanded. This final stipulation, the unit disband stipulation, was added at the April 6 Korakuen Hall show, where it was announced that Big Boss Shimizu was unable to participate in the match, where he actually was going to be in. And now Madoka Kikuta is taking his spot, but Kikuta doesn't have hair or a mask to lose. So they added this other stipulation as well. It is Shun Skywalker versus Homare versus El Cielo versus Madoka Kikuta versus Kota Minura versus Yoshiki Kato. And all of these wrestlers have different motivations going into this match. Kikuta as the champion replacing Big Boss Shimizu. Is it? I think it's Shimizu's hair that's on the line, right?
Yes, that's exactly how it is. That's exactly how it is. Yes.
Yeah. Then we have Kota Minura's hair on the line. Yoshiki Kato's hair is on the line, and he is in the match to expose El Cielo's identity. So that is the motivation that he has going in. Homare is in to go against Kota Minura. They built that up over the course of the last couple of weeks. They want to cut each other's hair. And Shun Skywalker, that just today, this morning, there was an article on Tokyo Sports where Shun Skywalker said, "I'm only interested in protecting myself." So that's his plan for this steel cage match, Dylan.
By the way, Kikuta had the best match of his title reign last week against Kai.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a really great match. I thought. They did an excellent job. Also, the semi-main with Ben Shun teaming, that was a really strong match as well. But the main event was like way out of nowhere, because I had no real thoughts or interest in that going in, and I thought it way over-delivered. So good stuff there. Love seeing some Kai turn back the clock. He was one of my favorites back in the day.
Yeah, it was a really good Korakuen overall, actually.
Yeah, so they got some things on the way, and then you had, we're going to push Problem Dragon then next right after that. So that showed you things aren't well yet. And this whole card, I mean, Yuki Yoshioka and Strong Machine J, is there a match ever in the history of wrestling that is more, we don't know what to do with these two, so we're going to put them against each other? There's no purpose.
The fourth match on the card.
Yeah, there's no purpose to that whatsoever. This is another show that really hinges on the main event. Even though the tag match, that looks good, the Brave Gate could be great, but the main event is where everything changes because of what I said earlier. No matter what happens in this match, no matter how it turns out, this company is going to change going forward. There's going to be a big shift one way or the other, no matter who loses. So I think that's good. It makes this match interesting, even though the promotion has been in chaos the last 2 months or so, if not longer. Really, ever since Kikuta beat Yoshioka on that show, I think the company's been in a spiral. And now at least we're going to have a chance to move forward from all of that, one way or the other. So let's look at these options here. The correct option is, of course, Kato achieving his goal and exposing El Cielo to prove if he is a criminal or not, truly. That could be a felon under that mask. We don't know at the end of the day.
And you know, this is the correct option because it focuses on both Cielo and Yoshiki Kato, and you need these two to be elevated after this match, which would be great for Yoshiki Kato to be able to, quote-unquote, win this match to expose Cielo, and we'll see what goes on with Cielo after this.
Yeah, I think that Cielo losing is interesting because that would break up Saipatra if that happens. And I honestly, I
have a hard time imagining that Gajadokuro breaks up, you know? That's...
Well, and I think the thing is, though, you could argue both of these units have outlived their welcome, though, to be honest with you, you know? And I actually think a good way to do this would be if Shun turned on Cielo. Like, that to me feels like, whether it's Cielo or... Yeah.
Take another mask, you know?
Yeah, whether it's Cielo or Homare, Shun goes back to being a true heel and gets out of this funky stuff they've been in. Like, because this has not worked. Like, because they're kind of heels, they're kind of baby faces. They're just not... It's
a lame duck group with just 3 people in it. It's for Dragon Gate causes. I've said it before. A Dragon Gate unit has to be composed of at least 4 people because you want to do at least 2 matches per show with the unit involved. Preferably, it has 5 people because you can do a 6-man and an attack match with a unit. But with only 3 people, they are limited to either 1 match per show, or you always have to do a singles match on the show, and that's not really what the essence of Dragon Gate is. So I can also see Shun Skywalker going into this direction. And the question here is it going to be finally El Cielo's mask? That's the better option, but it could also be Homare's hair that is taken.
I also think if Shun does do that, then it's possible that Gajadokuro, like, both groups break up at the end of this. Like, Shun takes control of the group again from Kikuta, and
Exactly that, because the Saipatra breaking up is much more interesting than anybody from Saipatra turning on Shun Skywalker. The more interesting option is someone from the heel stable within turning against Madoka Kikuta to bring in the new leader that could be Shun Skywalker.
Yeah, Shun turns, beats up Kikuta. Some people follow him, some people don't. And we kind of reset from there. Like, because that breaks up Gajadokuro, moves some people around. But the thing with that is it feels like we're taking steps backward at that point. Like, we're getting back to where we were. But where we were was better than where we are now. So we can try and reset and it sets us off to a natural path to Shun versus Kikuta for the title. It gives us a reason for that.
And it also sets us up for a path of Homare taking revenge on his hero that turned on him.
Yeah, if Homare is the one he turns on, because if he turns on Cielo, I think Homare would side with, like, he just turned heel with Shun.
Could be, yeah.
But if he turned on Homare, then that sets that up. You know, like, that sets that story up for the long term. Kato losing, I don't think you'd gain that much from that, to be honest. Like Cielo. Well, to be fair, the one thing you could say is because Cielo's taken so many L's of late, he finally wins the overall feud after kind of just, not getting any wins before that. So that at least helps Cielo out. But to me, Cielo, in my opinion, I think he's the best person to lose because I think this character is a lame duck character. Honestly, like, I think that he needs a total reset, in my opinion.
It started out hot, and
all of Saipatra did. Like, Saipatra started out hot, but they bungled it. at the end of the day. Kikuta losing could actually be interesting if they have a big, grand story, but I don't want that because that means we have to wait until Big Boss comes back to get revenge, and I don't want Kikuta to be the champion that long. So, like, I'm not in favor of that. Minoura, do we really need to do this again? Like, say, this is the time Minoura will finally work as a main eventer.
Dylan, finally.
No, like, he's the one I think is, like, the least likely of all of them to lose, actually. Like, Minoura. Well, Shun is the least likely, but Shun losing would be stupid. Like, and like to not do a one-on-one mass match, in my opinion. Him as an unmasked guy has potential, but again, they've bungled this run like so bad. When he got turned on, we should have seen him. I'm not saying he automatically is now a babyface, but we should have seen this being worked towards, like him reconciling with the roster reconciling with him, and getting to a point. Now, at this point, this could have been, on paper, the show where he's finally fully turned babyface somehow. But instead, we're talking about him going back to being a full heel, which shows you how bad this run has been, actually, at the end of the day. So, to me, one way or the other, and that's the thing. If one of the Gajatakuro group breaks up, that really throws everything bad. Like, they're going to have to totally redesign the top heel group. And I feel like it's easier to do it with a Saipatra member losing, whether it's Homare or Cielo. I think Homare's hair is actually a good, unique look for him. Like, there's nobody else who really has this hair. But he might just be like, man, I really need this out of my eyes. Like, get this out of my eyes. But actually, like I said, I love his look as it is. I don't think he needs to lose. And I think Cielo needs a total reset. So if it were me doing it, the ending of this match would be Shun, Kato, and Cielo, and Shun turning on Cielo. Yeah. And like then we would do an angle afterwards where he takes over the group.
Yeah, we have Kato siding with Skywalker to turn against Kikuta.
Yeah, exactly. And you could probably have, like, Jason and Minoura are with Kikuta.
Sure.
And Shun would have Kato and Ishin. And Homare.
Kai too.
Kai would team with Kikuta. It was perhaps then. You have Homare joining Shun's side, and Kikuta gets Kai. Kikuta, Kai, and Minoli as a group. And you could do whatever you want. Maybe Luis Monte can join one of these groups because it's been a year since he's been in a faction. So, maybe he'll have a place too. But that's what I would do personally. I would have Shun screw over Cielo and redesign his character. And ultimately, he would be a guy that you could perceive him perhaps as a top babyface in the future. Or a top heel, I suppose. But in this case, he would have to be a babyface if Shun turned on him. What do you think? What would you do if it was up to you, Strigga?
I would do the exact same, actually, that you just lined out.
And I do think that the Gajatakura does need to change.
Obviously, it does need to change. I don't know. I would probably. Would you change the name as well?
Yes, I think the whole thing needs to be scrapped.
It's a change.
Yeah, and especially unit. Yeah, and if Shun is the leader, then there's no point in keeping Kakuta's. Yeah, exactly. Just from a kayfabe standpoint, it needs to change. But also the real life version, it also needs to change.
And that's the good part about Dragon Gate. When they see that a faction isn't working, they get rid of it and they have a new faction.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little soon, to be honest, to get rid of your top group, but I think it's for the best. And I think losing Big Boss really hurt too. It was implied that maybe Big Boss was going to get the belt, win that match where Kai got it, and he might just win the title. And if that happened, I think that would totally change the group. Like, we'd be in such a different place right now if Kikuta got kicked out and Big Boss was the champion going into this match. I think the whole company looks different than how it feels right now. But it's like, they're in such a corner where they're stuck on this Kikuta title reign. Like, they have to get off of this at some point. And I think this would ultimately be the first steps in that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, so I think that the two Dragon Gate titles that are on the line should not change hands. I think that Jackie Kama and Rita should remain Twin Gate champions and win the Soryo title from Susumu Yokosuka and Kagetora, and of course, Ryoya Tanaka's reign as the Brave Gate champion needs to continue. He's facing UT. That's the guy he took the title from last July, and we'll have another defense here for him in this outstanding reign.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that should be a great match. Totally agree with your take. Both the titles should stay, and even the Triangle Gate should also stay.
I was just going to say, obviously, Takashi, Mondaryu, and Iwamoto should keep fights.
Although, you know, they do, it feels like once a year they do this kind of thing where they pick like a random underused guy for like a decade. And so, like Kanda got that big run with Susumu, Punch Tamanaga got the Triangle Gate. Like it seems like they do that all the time, but that's like, I don't think that'll happen here. I think the Gooch will lead us home.
Gooch. And also, one more point, Jackie Kama and Rita also said that they were going to win all the tag team titles that are around in Dragon Gate right now, which would also include the All Asia tag team title held by Mochizuki and Fuji, which would be great because then they could go over. Then they could go over to All Japan, Kama and Rita, and defend the title against, let's say, Rising Hayato and Atsuki Aoyagi.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. I would love them against any of the All Japan juniors.
Yep. Let's do that.
Or the heavyweights. Put Anzai against them.
Oh, yeah, sure. Why not? Anzai and Inoue. That's a great team, too.
Yeah.
All right, quickly here, one more talking point, Dylan. New Japan Pro Wrestling, obviously, lots of developments in the last couple of weeks. Of course, mainly Callum Newman defeating Yota Tsuji for the IWGP Heavyweight title. Callum Newman then showed up at AEW with the heavyweight title being presented as Will Ospreay's protege there. We have a couple of cards lined up for late April, early May with the Dontaku tour coming up. We first have Wrestling Red. We have a number one contendership for the tag team title in Korakuen Hall on the 20th with Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi against Great Okan and Henare. And the winner of that match at Wrestling Red Zone in Hiroshima faces Yuto Ice and Oscar for the tag team title. The same show has Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita challenging for the junior tag title held by Ishimori at Robbie X. Then there is Wrestling Hizen no Kuni in the Saga Arena with Tiger Mask. Once again, this final challenge for the junior heavyweight title against Doki before Tiger Mask retires. We go then on to Wrestling Dontaku cards from the Fukuoka Kokusai Center, May 3rd and May 4th. I'm not going to run through all of these matches, but just mention the big ones here, Dylan. The big matches on the first show are a special singles match between Aaron Wolf and Don Farley, the big one. Dylan here. Nagoya Openweight title, Ren Narita defends against Oleg Bolton. And for the global title, it was supposed to be Yota Tsuji versus Gabe Kidd, but Kidd was injured on the AEW show on the weekend. So he is out, and New Japan announced that Tsuji will be wrestling another guy. Not announced yet who it is supposed to be.
Sounds big.
Yeah. That's
big
not a good
stuff.
card.
Oh, no, this is a terrible card. Actually, like very bad stuff.
There is actually no match that has any redeeming quality when I'm looking up and down the card.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a terrible show.
Dude.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they have just put the tag team title match on here?
No, Wrestling Red Zone is too important.
They need the tag team title. I'm sorry.
Yes. What about Night 2, though?
Night 2, though. Okay, yeah.
It's still not
it's
good.
Not getting any better. And Inosuke Takeshita versus Chase Owens for the TV title.
Okay, no joke though. Like, okay, if you want to talk about the state of New Japan in general, 2 of the last 3 months, no, all 3 actually. Now that I think about it, all 3 of the last 3 months has featured Yujiro, Chase Owens, or both Yujiro and Chase Owens going for a title. Like, what is it? What in 2026?
And On this second night of Dontaku, we have Yuto Ice and Oscar, arguably one of the hottest acts of the entire company, wrestling in the third match against Shota Umino and Tomoaki Honma.
They're big matches on Red Zone. We've already covered that. The real big show.
The real big show. The real big show.
Yes.
Just pointing out here. El Desperado teams with Mystico. They are teaming against Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita. And also, then, of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling brought in Mystico to have a really important match on May 1st in the Beeline Sports Park IRA, where in the semi-main, it is Oleg Bolton, Aaron Wolf, Tiger Mask, and Mystico against Renarita, Don Farley, Doki, and Sho. Everybody was waiting for Mystico to finally go against Don Farley.
I mean, I think that was kind of who I was debating in my greatest wrestler ever, top 100.
Oh, actually, there is 2 shows that Mystico is wrestling against Don Farley.
I mean, the rivalry will just never end, it feels like.
Yes. What a match. Then we have Yuya Omura and Taichi versus Roy Oiwa and Hartley Jackson. We are just doing that here with Oiwa against Yuya Omura. Yeah, that rivalry is good as well. Hartley Jackson is working hard too in Japan. Good spot for him. Yodatsuji, Driller Maloney, Taiji Himori, Robbie X versus Jake Lee, Francisco Akira, Jacob Austin Young, and Zane J, the usual multi-man tag that they do between Unbound and the United Empire. Top 2 title matches, never openweight 6-man title. Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, and Oleg Bolton against Will Ospreay, Great Okan, and Hinare. And Callum Newman versus Shingo Takagi for the IWGP Heavyweight title. Should be a good first defense for Callum Newman. He should really be able to have a good match with Shingo Takagi. Shingo Takagi always delivers in these main event situations. Nobody should really expect Shingo Takagi to win, but he's there to put on a good performance against Newman, which he needs in his first defense to establish himself as IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah. What do you think of Newman winning the title over Tsuji?
I thought it was a good match, and I thought that Newman just continued to grow, which he did in the last couple of months, and performed on a really high level that I was completely fine with the decision that they made. When we did the last show, after we finished doing the show, I was kind of bummed out that we didn't even consider the possibility of New Japan putting the title on him, because it is not uncommon for them to take the title of someone that has just come off a giant victory. They sometimes tend to do this. It's the same story when Jay White won the IWGP Heavyweight title. It came off of Tanahashi getting a big victory in the Tokyo Dome, and we had Tsuji coming off a big victory in the Tokyo Dome in January, combining the global and then world heavyweight title, and now bringing back the heavyweight championship. So I'm completely fine with this. I want to find out where we're heading with Callum Newman as IWGP Heavyweight Champion. So I think it opens up more possibilities that you have on the roster to have him as champion. We have a new top guy that you have established now to put him against others on top. At the same time, it gives Tsuji an opportunity to do something else, to do other stuff with the global title. For example, he's coming to Germany in May. After his global title defense here on May 3rd, he's going to be at the Hamburg show, the WXW Hamburg show, that I'm going to be attending as well on May 16, I think that is, 2 weeks after that. Yeah, and to underline that, I'm really fine with Callum Newman as champion.
Yeah, there was a couple of things I didn't like about that match, actually. To me, it had a lot of NXT-isms around Callum Newman and Will Ospreay, particularly with him stopping him from using the weapon and the shocked face he made after that. And then also the funniest part of this is he's like, no, be a man, do it the right way. And then Newman had to have this inner conflict. Like, do I want to do it Will's way and be a good guy, or do I want to cheat? And so he threw the weapon away and then won by giving Tsuji a low blow, which Will Ospreay was totally fine with. Like for some reason.
Funny bit though.
Yeah, like everything was cool with that. Like you said, then they tease all this heat and dissension, and then on AEW, no, we're all good again. Now United Empire's united once again on there. So I didn't like that part. I also didn't like how the main point of this match was about Newman and Ospreay and not Tsuji. Because listen, maybe they feel like as a champion, Tsuji wasn't cutting it. Fine. Like, I mean, you set him up to fail, putting him against Jake Lee and Andrade as his opponents. But his reign wasn't going good. I think anybody can see that. But give him a chance, at least. You know, let him at least try to do something here. And when you do this kind of match, yeah.
Like I said, it isn't necessarily about Tsuji, I think.
And it wasn't about Tsuji. The whole match wasn't about Tsuji.
No, it's not my point. It's not necessarily about Tsuji. It is not uncommon for New Japan to give guys a very short first run with the title.
And here's my comeback to that. Back then, what do you know? Then tell me what my point is.
Back in the day, they could have done that, but now you need a strong champion with Tsuji.
Well, it's not just a strong champion. Back then, you had an ace. You don't have an ace. Okay, you're so focused on building heels. That's clearly what they want. They want to make this guy a top heel. Mm-hmm. You don't have an ace. Like, you don't have a native ace in this company. So you can't get away with this the same way you did before. And that stuff was also not even good then, like in a lot of ways, to me. But especially now, who is going to lead this company going forward? Because Callum Newman is not going to be that person. Like, everybody knows that where his destination is, and it's not New Japan champion. Like, it's going to be an AEW. Like, who is the native player that's going to lead this company? Because Tsuji felt like this felt like a write-off for him as a main eventer. Like, that's how drastic this felt to me.
Yeah, but they still have the second title, and they expect him to headline with this.
And I guess that can work. I mean, well, we'll see. I mean, and like I said, I mean, that's the thing. You look online, you see all these people talking about how hot this Callum Newman run is and how great everything is in the company that's back. And every show they have is down year over year from where they were last year. It was again, and not pretty substantially. Like, it was like 600 people, like less than last year. With David Finlay, who I'm told was never a draw and not charismatic, was also in the main event then. But this is so much better, clearly. And you don't have any native aces. You have one, perhaps, in Yuto. He could be that guy that can carry the company.
He could be that guy. He could be.
You know, because their match was phenomenal. Like that tag match was unbelievably great, I thought.
Clearly,
and mainly because of them.
Show, yeah.
Yeah, and they're doing great things on there. But they have not...
Yuto and Oiwa is a great rivalry that we'll revisit by G1 time.
Yeah, and I think you could do some big things with Yuto, really, more than Oiwa. But, I think that they have to figure something out. Because this is not, like I said, this is not a long-term plan. Even Newman is champion. To me, the most likely part of this, he could easily lose this on Dominion. Lose this belt right back. Maybe to Tsuji again, which would be that would be very lame to me if they did that. Yeah. But there's no other really good option that would be set up logically at the same time.
They also did that in the first Okada reign. Remember, he beat Tanahashi for the title and then lost it right back to Tanahashi at Dominion.
Yep, that is true. But Newman and Tanahashi are not comparable. Is the problem here? So that would be a totally different situation. At the end of the day, and again, nothing about this is me downplaying Newman's talent. I can see clearly how improved he is. I said that even in the G1 last year. It's nothing against him. I think the match layout was not that good to me, and it really made Tsuji look bad, in my opinion. That this was so focused on his and Ospreay's story, and that's probably going to be a Wrestle Kingdom match in all likelihood. Is Newman versus Ospreay? Would they do that for the title though? That does not flying. You need a native star in that spot in the Wrestle Kingdom at the end of the day. And I just feel like we did this whole build-up of Tsuji bringing back the title. Remember when he won the belt? There was so much positive momentum for him. He had that great match versus Takeshita. He beat an unpopular champion. Now he's the new face of the division. He brings the belt everyone loves back. And it felt like we were off to the races with this guy. and they fizzled it out so fast. I'm like, I don't understand this at the end of the day. And they don't have it. None of these people feel like actual main eventers. Like, there's no main eventers on this roster.
Yeah,
outside of
if it was me, when we're not going back to Yuta Tsuji, if it was me, it's Yuya Uemura winning the G1 Climax and going for the title. I think that's the next logical. Yeah. Maybe Newman loses the title before that, but who would that be? I don't know.
That's the problem, because Uemura is not nearly built up enough for that.
No, I know, not right now, But to me, he feels like the next logical option that you have after Yuta Tsuji. Shota Umino always is there. You don't want to go to Yuto Ice and Oscar right now because they're so hot as a tag team. So that's the options.
Yeah, I mean, Uemura, he was on the losing end of a mid-card match here, and like Umino had the draw against Takeshita, which that was okay. That was an okay match, but he didn't feel like a star to me in that at all. And Yuto,
I'm just laying down the options that you have.
Well, I'm responding to your options that you laid out here. And Yuto, like, he's great, and I just, this gimmick is not main event to me. Like, even when they're as great as these matches are, as this repetitive 3-team tag division they've had, they've done such a great job with all the time. I just think the gimmick, I'm kind of against it, but at the same time, he's kind of faking it till he's making it. Like, this is not a legitimate gimmick to me, but yet it's still working so well. At the end of the day, if they wanted to go there, to me, he's the only one that feels like he even has a prayer of, like, being a successful champion at this point. Umino, they have a good storyline with Takeshita. I think maybe he wins that belt at Dominion on there. I think that would make sense. I think the Knockout Brothers, if it were me, I would have them drop the titles to Umino and Uemura. If you wanted to get rid of this, really the TV title doesn't even matter, but at least that's a storyline. They have a built-up storyline too with Umino and Uemura if they wanted to do that. But yeah, it's just tough right now. I feel like the company's still in not a great place. Like, I've seen a lot of people praise this and say how great the show was and how great the future looks. And again, it's nothing against Newman. I have no problem with him being the champion, honestly. It's just the circumstances surrounding it, I think, are not fit for that at the moment. And I mean, we'll see that. We'll see at the end of the day how things go. Maybe this month, maybe Dontaku does a huge number with him and Shingo. But the evidence is not there for that. Like, at the end of the day, so.
That is right.
What about the what about the Best of Super Juniors? Bringing it
exactly. Yeah. Final talking point. Since we last talked, they announced the full roster for the Best of the Super Junior 33 Block A: Doki, Master Wato, Ryosuke Taguchi, Francesco Akira, Robbie X, Nick Wayne. He's returning. We didn't expect him to be back in there, but he is. Titan, Valiente Jr., Kosei Fujita, and Jun Kasai in Block A. Block B has Yo, El Desperado, Daisuke Sasaki, Kushida, Robbie Eagles, Jacob Austin Young, Taiji Ishimori, Hio from Dragon Gate, Sho, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Notably, El Desperado and Jun Kasai in opposite blocks, Dylan.
Yeah, that B block is rough. I mean, that's 5 out of the 10 names on every B block show. That's gonna drag it down. Like, that's a really bad looking block. I do have to say. Kasai and Despi on the opposite end. I mean, Kasai was a big surprise. I mean, Nick Wayne's been here before, and he wasn't who I had in mind, but it's logical when you think about it. Kasai being in was something I never would have picked. If you'd given me 10 picks, I don't think I would have picked him as a name. And I think it's great. Like, this is what I wanted with him. Like, last time, he's going to wrestle normal matches. Like, we get to see him do something totally different now on there. And I think it's awesome at the end of the day.
It's awesome as well.
Yeah. He was the biggest star.
Yeah, looking forward to the Desperado versus Jun Kasai final match.
I mean, that's a logical, expectation when you think about it.
And it's a great match.
If that happens, would he win, though?
No. Despy won.
Yeah, because Despi's won both of their earlier matches, right?
Yep.
So that to me would set up Kasai winning. And also, Despy winning would be the worst result, I think, of any performer. Like, I really hope that doesn't happen.
The legacy of this tournament in the last couple of years hasn't been great.
Last year was an incredible final. I mean, the tournament itself wasn't good, but the final with Yo and Kosei.
Yes, the last year's final was good, but I'm alluding to the last couple of years before that with Hiromu Takahashi always winning.
Yeah, I mean, like that wasn't great, but he's gone now. So hopefully they've changed. They've changed all of that. But when you think about it, there's not that many great options to win when you look at this tournament. When
Kasai winning would actually be fun. I just can't see them putting Kasai over Despy. I don't know.
Well, he's got to beat somebody in here if he goes to the finals. Like he's got to beat a lot of big names.
I mean, I know. But Despy is the biggest of them all that is left here.
He'd have to beat. Well, would he beat Doki, the champion? Then maybe that could be his big win.
He would, yeah.
Okay. Would he beat Kosei?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah.
I mean, I could also lose because they've done the match before, haven't they? Oh no, they've not.
Yeah. I think they were. Yeah. Whatever.
I think he would beat almost everybody in this block.
Okay. I mean that's good. I'd want that. Like, I mean, I like that idea. And like I said, so you think Despy is going to win the tournament?
I think so.
Who are some? Give me two other options for you that could win.
Well, depending on that, finally, it could also be Kasai, like you said. From Block B, if it's not Despy,
there are no good options besides Despy in Block B.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, the only good option is if they wanted to try to fix like last year and have Yo win.
Yeah, but he went for the title just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's true. So that's not a good option either. Show? That would set up Show versus Doki, so that doesn't work either. Yeah, so no good options in Block B. What about Block A?
What about Francesco Akira in Block A?
He feels like a guy they had something with years ago, and they just never pulled the trigger, and now it's kind of like, like when I look at him.
I fully expected to go to AEW next.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he wrestled like he was wrestling for a contract on that.
He did.
Empire segment, along with Hanari. So I can't blame him for that. But yeah, like I said, I think they had their chance with him, and the time has passed. So yeah, it really feels like Despy's like a clear favorite. They could do back-to-back with Kosei, and like him actually win the title this time.
Fixing that too.
Yeah, it would be so underwhelming compared to if he had just won it last year, of course. But at least it would.
Sometimes that's what they do.
It would take this division in the right direction, though. And Despy, or even like Kasai would be crazy and fun, but Despy would take this division in the wrong direction, especially based on their own edict about signing new people and all this. Like that feels like the totally wrong call. I'd be so against that if I had a say in the room. But he's really the most logical option when you think about it. At the end of the day, I'll go with Kasai though. Like I said, the nature of the feud would bring it.
It would be the nature of the feud. Yeah. So like I said, I just have a hard time imagining them not putting over Despy.
I understand that. What do you think about them bringing in Hyo after all the Dragon Dia stuff?
I mean, Hyo was to be expected to be in the tournament after he won this bodybuilding contest that they had. He's very popular, and so he'll have his fans.
Dragon Gate sure is very trusting for this to send him over. I mean, if it was me, I would shut that shit down so fast.
Me too, yeah.
Nobody should be sending New Japan people right now. If I'm a Japanese company, like I'm not even joking. Like they're clearly on the hunt. Like everybody knows this, and why would you risk? I mean, and I'm not even the biggest heel fan. It's not like I think he's this devastating loss, but we talked about it in the last episode, Strig. They're losing the PR game bad right now. They need wins, not more people leaving. Like that's the last thing they need right now. So if Hyo gets over and maybe people in New Japan fall in love with him, is that really what we want? Like if we're Dragon Gate? I don't know. I just think it was very interesting that he was the pick. But yeah, like Kasai coming in really helps the tournament out in terms of star power because I think this would be a rough tournament. Never mind match quality, but just in terms of, like I said, drawing and whatnot in Japan. I think him coming in helps out a lot. And he was an interesting name. So you've at least got one person that I'm into, and Valiente is also a great worker. I can't wait to see what he does. Really, the whole A block is pretty good outside. Taguchi is not my favorite at this point, but everyone else I think you could have a good run, even with the lackluster guys like Nick Wayne, Robbie X, not my favorites, but they can have good matches against certain people. And so, you've got a good little run here. We'll see what they do with it. And I guess we'll see the test of the drawing ability of Daisuke Sasaki in B block is the main interest, I suppose, going in. But yeah,
yes.
Are you excited about this tournament?
No.
Yeah, me either. This is not a great tournament on paper. I think that's why we're so set on Kasai and Despi, because that's the most interesting possible thing is to see Kasai do well. But I also think, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Kasai came out of this was like 2 or 3 wins. It was totally if that happened, that would not surprise me.
Me neither.
And it would be disappointing.
It would be disappointing, and especially given the opposite block situation.
Oh, no, you agree with me, right? About B block. This is this is bad.
Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Exactly. We'll see. Our show here this time, Dylan, was great getting back in the mix for you. Is there anything that you have on our Patreon that you want to plug?
Yes, always doing the EL weeklies. I'm in the middle of writing one right now. But more than that, patreon.com/Eastern Lariat. I've got some audio reviews I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to cover the Champion Carnival in depth too. Every show, I'm going to cover it on the Patreon too with audio. So keep your eyes peeled for that as well. Regardless of whenever we do the free show next, that'll always be there on the Patreon, and you get an EL weekly covering everything in Japanese wrestling. But most importantly, there's something far more important that I need to talk about right now. Because this is the 10-year anniversary of my very first episode of the Eastern Lariat.
Oh, that's right, man. Exactly 10 years, man.
Yeah, 10
crazy
years. Stuff. And it's crazy how time flies by. I'll never forget the first episode talking about, the big talking point then was about Asuka, Kana, and Nakamura making their debuts on NXT with the famous Nakamura and Sami Zayn match that happened.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about back then on the first episode. And, it was only it was only planned to be a 1-episode run originally. And then 10 years later, here I am. And a lot's happened, in these past 10 years. There's been ups and downs and crazy things online and, lots of things that have happened in wrestling. Because if you go back to 10 years ago in 2016, just the way we watch wrestling from Japan was drastically different than it was now. So I do just want to say, out there, first of all, I want to say, what I think about it. That was such a big thing. And I do have to thank you first and foremost for reaching out to me all those years ago and the following thing, because, when you reached out to me for the first ever Eastern Lariat, I was in a totally insane part of my personal life with my ex-fiance and stuff. And basically the first year of the Eastern Lariat was also an extended therapy session for me with you.
Yeah.
On our after shows. And I've always remembered that over the years, because we used to talk a lot more after the shows. Now we've kind of got things down to a science almost. There was also lots of things where things would mess up back in the days that we don't deal with anymore too. So in terms of audio issues, so that's improved greatly. But also, that you don't have to listen to me talk about my relationship problems as much either. So that's good. But I do want to thank you so much, because this opportunity, it really and truly changed my life in ways that I could never actually put into words. But it really started with you reaching out in the first place. So I do got to shout you out for that. And obviously the 10 years since, you've been when you came in, and again, I knew, we weren't super close when you asked me. I was just another guest on your Rolodex, I suppose. And we've turned that into 10 years of being great friends and, and I always respected you. Again, even before that, I knew obviously who you were and that you were a big name and you were knowledgeable, so I knew that part, but I didn't know you as a person. And we've grown in all of this decade. We've talked about all sorts of things together and shared a lot of moments. But most importantly, we've made the show what it is and kept it going all of this time. When, you look at another thing 10 years ago, there's so many people in our sphere, like the Japanese wrestling fandom, that have come and gone. Like people that loved wrestling intensely, and then they're not around. They don't watch anymore. They don't, they're not around.
10 years is a long time, man.
Yeah, a decade's a long time. So I do want to thank you. Second of all, I do have to thank Mr. Nakamura, who was the owner of 01 at the time, and that reaching out to him, and he was so generous with his time, and way back before we started the show, but that really opened the door for me to get super, super deep into Japanese wrestling and meet all kinds of people that wrestled in 01 that became my friends. And, I wanted to wrestle there and never quite panned out that way. But he was very, very generous to me, and I'll always take that with me until I die, pretty much. All my friends I made since then. Shout out to Charles Schaefer, Bushido RX, who, he founded Pro Wrest Spirit, which was the site I was writing on when you reached out to me all those times. And I'm so glad to see that he's doing his thing, because he took a few years off. He went away for a little while, and now Pro Wrest Spirit's back again. I really want to talk to him again. It's been a while since we've, chatted each other up, and I was close to him at the time, and he really set me off to even have any kind of voice or name. Without that opportunity, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you right now. So want to thank Court Bauer for liking me enough to put me on MLW originally too, and he liked the show so much that you liked it, and we all just worked it out, and he even gave me my own spin-off show afterwards too about Lucha Libre too. So big shout outs to Court too. I got to thank him a lot. Thank you to everybody out there who helped make wrestling accessible back then. Obviously, I'm thinking about my boy Jamal, Real Hero, rest in peace.
Yes.
He was a close friend of mine. We lost him a few years ago, but he did get to see the Knicks do so good as they've done since then. But
so many great conversations with him. It was just a tragic loss.
Yeah, it was a tragic loss, but he was so important, and a name that will not be remembered probably because everything's on streaming services now. But back then, going to those archives with him and Eric and everybody, it was very, very vital to doing that. And I don't want to forget those times because they were so important. Thank you to all the friends I made over the years for the shows, people that have reached out to me, that have talked to me, thanked me and said how much the show meant to them in terms of helping them learn about wrestling and stuff. And even some people have really become close to me, and I would not have that opportunity or that reach without the show. So that's how much it's meant to me. I've made some of the best friends of my whole life, and the fans have really kept me going more than anything else over the years, no matter what kind of tragedies I've been through, because you guys have seen me grow up. Because back then, 10 years ago, I always say this. I would always say, like, because of everything that happened in my life, I won't want to get into it too much, but I would always say I'm like 10 years less mature than my actual age. And when I started, I was definitely less mature than my actual age, for sure. Like when 2016, Dylan, there were some crazy times with some crazy ass people, and some people that didn't like what I had to say. We're in the peak of Okada champion run, and I'm saying, this guy might not be as great as Dave Meltzer saying. That made some people mad back then. I definitely remember that. And Voice of Wrestling and stuff. But, I've had great relationships with those guys, and I respect all of them as it comes. But the point of it all is, I wasn't that mature when we started. I was, yeah.
Yeah. I mean that the reason that I stuck with you as a co-host here obviously was that we, from the get-go, got along great.
Yeah,
there was this chemistry that you can't create. It was just there organically, and we just over the years, we've just had great discussions. I think about not only pro wrestling, but also talked privately a lot, and it helped us to grow. It helped us to mature in many ways, not only in our wrestling taste, but also in our private lives. So I couldn't really have asked for a better dude to be the co-host of the show. And it's 10 years is a long time, man. I just checked it. It's actually, we just last month actually we just passed the 20th anniversary of me starting up purolove.com, which is a crazy ass long time, man. 20 years. And it's actually it's actually been 22 years since I've started at cagematch.net. back then when I started at Cage Match, it wasn't a database. It only started in 2007
Right.
to be a database. Yeah, it's just when you think about it, it's a crazy ass long time. We get here every other week, every few weeks. We get here to talk about modern wrestling and get back in the cycle, and but to think back to what times we had is just always very vital to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you were at a totally different time in your life back then too.
Sure.
On there, but I will say what I said earlier about the greatest wrestling ever. When I said I was in between an old head and a new fan, you were the old head I was thinking of. At the end of the day, on there, you've got so much more experience than me. But honestly, I have, I've had more experience than a lot of people too, so I can't really say that too much. But
Yeah.
I really totally agree with what you said. I couldn't have asked for anybody better than you in terms of a co-host, and I was so blessed. And again, like same thing with Nakamura. Like he took something that was so hard and he made it so easy for somebody that in my life everything was a million times harder than it would be for some other people. And with you and with this show, I got in a way that should have been so hard, but it was so easy. And a lot of that really goes to you. So like I said, that's why you were the first guy I had to thank on that end. And like I said, there's so many people I love. I couldn't name anybody individually. We'll be here 5 hours talking about it. And I know it's been a longer show already, but I'm so happy that everybody has taken something for the show that's listened and made a huge difference in my life. So 10 years, yes, it's a long time. Yes, it's a lot has changed since then for sure, as people, as wrestling has changed, and everybody's grown with me in some way. And you guys, like I said, people that listened from the start basically saw me grow up into an adult. Although some people would probably say I still haven't grown up in a lot of ways, but still, you guys have saw me through so many crazy times in my life, and I really, really don't know where I'd be without the listeners and you and the show in and of itself. So to me, 10 years, yes, it's a long time, but it's like just scratching the surface still for me. Like I truly, truly want and believe we can and should be doing this for another 10 years minimum. I will never stop this if I have any say. It would take something crazy to happen for me to stop the Eastern Lariat in some form or fashion. So God bless all you guys. I love you so, so much. And I hope that you keep listening and you keep having as much fun as I do talking about it. Even if it seems like I'm the bad guy on the show, which especially at the start, it was like that. Everybody thought like they didn't like that I was the one criticizing because you love New Japan so much. And I was the one that would talk bad about it. And everybody got mad at me because of it. Even if it seems like I didn't like it, I fucking love pro wrestling. I had my first match in 2005 when I was 13 years old, sneaking out of my apartment, going down the road to wrestle at the smallest, goofiest public access TV wrestling shows that you could imagine. I've dedicated my whole life to this in some way, whether it's through wrestling and now through the show. And that's another thing. When I couldn't wrestle anymore, that was my dream literally dying. And through somehow, some way, this show has kept me maybe not able to achieve everything I wanted, like I thought back then in 2011 when I was thinking about going to 0-1 and everything. But it's kept me on the edge of my dream, and this show has kept that alive. And I'll never, ever be able to forget that. So I hope you guys continue on for the next 10 years, or really just as long as I'm still alive. Like, that's how long it'll last. So thank you, STRIGGA. Thank you, everybody. I love you so much.
Fantastic closing words for this edition of the Eastern Lariat, Dylan. Thank you all for listening as well, and goodbye.
Sayonara.